As a young child, I remember being really excited to go see the fireworks every year. Watching the emotionally powerful parade of colors dancing around in the sky to the beat of the roaring booms from the fireworks shell exploding in the air. I watched the beautiful artwork being made through the use of different types of fireworks, the careful timing required during the launch to sync the explosions up with music. The sheer imagery of people gathering in mass to celebrate the fact that they were free. I remember noticing all of these beautiful things as a small child, being amazed at what I saw, and not knowing how to communicate any of it. As I grew older and began experiencing problems with sensitivity because of my neurodivergency, I began to feel alien. This is not, however, the first time I've felt alien in my life. So let's talk about that together. In elementary school, I was not very popular. Often, while trying to play with other kids, their imagination would be lost to me. I would try to play army soldier with them during recess, but the fact that there were no actual bullets flying around meant that it was hard to hold people accountable to whether or not they were actually dead in the game. Visualizing the fake scenario in my head was practically impossible because I could not guarantee that my interpretation of the simulation was the same as everyone else's interpretation. My peers' childlike imagination allowed them to simply not care about the rules of the game. I would think I shot someone in the back and thus gained a point, but they could also argue that I missed them. There was no system to determine who was correct and who was lying. They didn't care about the logistics of playing a competitive game without any ability to hold other people accountable to the rules. This meant that I was simply slowly phased out of that friend group. There were a lot of social trends during elementary school that I never fully understood, but tried to take part in to fit in with the popular kids. For example, for a few months during the first grade, my school had a machine that you could buy scented pencils from. The pencils were about $1.75 a pop, so they weren't expensive, especially considering the average pencil costs around $2.50 depending on the quality, brand, and where you purchase it from. But the fact that they didn't write all that well made it difficult for parents to justify giving kids $2.25 every day to spend on stupid pencils. The fact that there was monetary value attached to them, added to the limited number of pencils in the machine, on top of the novelty of a writing utensil a student uses on a daily basis could suddenly smell like flowers, I understand in retrospect why it became a trend for several months. At the time though, as an 8-year-old child, I didn't understand this. I was confused why so many other children wanted these pencils, even though the smell only lasted the first 20 minutes after opening the package and would stop writing once sharpened. I didn't want to be not cool though, so I purchased as many of these stupid, useless pencils as my parents permitted me to buy. I saw all of the popular neurotypical children had a huge stockpile of pencils, and I thought that once I was able to gather enough pencils of my own, then I too would be able to make friends. A few months passed and I noticed the hype around these scented pencils started to die down. Excited by the opportunity, I invested all of the remaining quarters I'd collected from doing chores into buying every other student's scented pencil at a lower rate than the machine offered. Now owning the biggest collection of scented pencils in the elementary school, I approached the popular kids table. Finally, I thought to myself, I've put all of my time and energy into this and it's going to pay off. I'll finally have friends. I sat down at the table, pencils in hand. I felt like I had earned my spot. I thought I had completed all of the social parameters required. Then I noticed everyone at the table giving me funny looks. The cool kids in first grade weren't mean. They tried their best to make me feel wanted and welcome, but I could tell that there was still something different about the cool kids' environment when I watched from afar in contrast to when I was trying to be a part of the group. It was quieter, more tense, awkward. The other kids didn't know how to communicate with me or vice versa. Imagine a radio. Sometimes the signal gets kind of weak. You can start to kind of hear the muffled, mostly intangible sounds from other stations. That's kind of how it felt. No matter how many conversations I had with my much more popular cousin, or how many hundreds of questions I asked, I couldn't seem to understand how to start speaking at the correct frequency. Eventually, I gave up trying. I stopped seeking out friendships. Instead, I let people flock to me as I began doing my own thing. To be honest, this is probably the best thing I could have ever done, because suddenly, wouldn't you know it, I began creating some true connections with like-minded individuals. As I entered 4th and 5th grade, I met some of the other kids who were also outcasted by most of the school's social class. After going my life feeling alone and misunderstood, I finally began to grasp what it felt like to feel heard. A YouTuber I watched as a kid named Matthias once gave some of the best dating advice I've ever heard. Just do your own thing, and eventually you'll find the one for you. While this is solid dating advice for finding a potential romantic partner, I think it's also equally important for finding a good friend. For someone to want to be friends with you, they have to notice you. You have to stand out from the rest of the crowd. Why should they be friends with you over the guy standing next to you? Because there is something about you specifically that makes you unique. It could be your worldview, your sense of humor, shared hobbies, or something else entirely. But there is something about you that makes you different. If you are constantly chasing other people and molding yourself to fit their definition of cool, you will never find your own. You'll never find what makes you cool. Everyone will tell you that to make friends you have to fit in with everyone else, but I'm here to tell you that it's actually the complete opposite. You want to form true connections with friendships, not fake relationships developed out of awkwardness and fear. If you want to make true friendships that will last years and years, you need to figure out who you are, what makes you different, and how those differences mix together with one another to make the truly beautiful person that you are. Once you find what makes you so beautifully different, wear those like a badge of honor. Don't try to hide them or mask them. Show them openly with pride and joy. That's the only way that you will know your friendships are real. That's the only way you will know people like you for you, not the mask you wear. And so when I became a teenager and began feeling more overwhelmed more often by loud noises, I already knew how to deal with this. Being a responsible and legal gun owner, my dad always had extra hearing protection in the garage that I could borrow. And so I started wearing headphones while completing tasks like vacuuming, cleaning, mowing the lawn, and watching the fireworks on July 4th. Because watching fireworks during Independence Day is considered a social event, it was considered rude or strange to wear hearing protection. While it helped with my disposition to loud noises, talking to me during the fireworks show was basically impossible. I, once again, felt alienated because of my differences. When I turned 16, I stopped going to see the fireworks altogether because staying at home in my room away from society was easier than being open about being different. I was just alone, sad, and trapped. After avoiding the show for almost 3 years, I decided enough was enough. I was going to go to the fireworks show, I was going to spend time with my friends and family, and I was going to have fun. After borrowing some hearing protection from my roommate and dressing up in the most colorful clothes I owned to further accentuate my differences, I headed towards my parents' neighborhood. Fear and anxiety flooded my mind. How will I explain to my parents why I'm wearing giant headphones? Will other people around be staring at me? What is my grandma going to say when she sees me? To my surprise, my family was much more accepting than they were a few years ago. They asked me what the heck was on my head, but after I told them about my experience with hypersensitivity and explained that wearing headphones makes things easier for me, they said, "Oh, okay," and moved on to another conversation. My little brother even held my hand during the fireworks because he wanted to make sure that I felt safe. While the fireworks painted the sky with color, everything became so clear. It doesn't matter what people think about me. It doesn't matter if I'm a bit alien from everyone else. It doesn't matter that the neighbor's children kept giving me strange looks. I'm glad that I can be an example to that child that not everyone is the same and that it's okay to be open about your struggles. I'm glad that I'm different. I'm glad that I'm not normal. Who wants to be normal? Who wants to be a part of the crowd? Everything I had learned about friendships and being unique as a child suddenly made sense to me in other contexts as well. To be happy is to be yourself. You're never truly going to feel confident or happy until you're able to live life on your own terms. Forget about the cool kids in school or the alienation you get from wearing hearing protection. The only person who can define what being cool or happy or normal looks like for you is you.